Hey everyone! Before we dive into today's story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment, letting me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. It really helps YouTube recommend more stories like this one to you. Alright, let's jump right in. The first time I saw the stranger in her eyes, I thought I was just tired. You know how sometimes you look at someone and for a split second they look different? Not like they changed, but like they're someone else completely. That happened with my girlfriend Emily, but it wasn't just once. It kept happening, and the more I stared, the less I recognized the girl I fell in love with. It started with little things. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and catch her standing at the window in our bedroom, staring out at the street. Not like she was watching anything, just still, blank. One time I asked her what she was looking at, and she turned slowly, too slowly, and said, "Nothing, just remembering." That was it. No smile, no explanation. Just that one line. Then she got back in bed like nothing happened. I moved in with her 6 months into our relationship. Emily was warm, smart, quick-witted. The kind of person who could read you too easily but made you feel seen, not exposed. She made the place feel like home, until it didn't. Her apartment was clean, almost too clean. Minimalist, all neutrals. No real personal items. No family photos, no childhood knickknacks, not even an old hoodie lying around. I didn't notice at first. I was in love. Who cares if your girlfriend likes white walls and candles? But after I moved in, I realized nothing ever changed. The fridge was always full of the same 5 things. Her clothes never moved around. The medicine cabinet only had a toothbrush, a razor, and a bottle of melatonin. And her bedroom closet? Half empty. Like she was waiting for someone else to move in, or someone had just moved out. One night, about 2 weeks after I moved in, I woke up to the sound of humming. It was low, quiet, but enough to pull me out of sleep. It was Emily. She was sitting at the edge of the bed, facing the wall, humming this strange little melody that didn't sound familiar at all. Something about it felt off. Not scary, just wrong. "Hey," I whispered, reaching out to touch her shoulder. She flinched. Not like I startled her, but like she didn't know I was there. When she turned around, her eyes were wide open, but she didn't look awake. I swear to God, it wasn't her. Her face was the same, but the expression wasn't. Her mouth was too stiff. Her eyes too blank. I've never seen someone look so empty. "You okay?" I asked. She blinked slowly, like she was processing the question. Then smiled, but the smile didn't match her eyes. "I'm fine, babe," she said. "Go back to sleep." From that point on, I started noticing gaps in her behavior. She'd forget things we talked about the day before, entire conversations. Once she cooked dinner for us and asked if I liked it. But we'd literally eaten the exact same meal 2 nights before, down to the garnish. Another time I asked how her day at work went, and she said, "I didn't go to work today." When I asked why, she stared at me like I was speaking another language, then laughed and said, "Just kidding." That laugh, I didn't recognize it. I started keeping a notebook. I know that sounds paranoid, but I had to start tracking things. Times she acted strange, phrases she repeated, changes in her behavior. I'd wake up and write down what she did during the night, just to make sure I wasn't losing my mind. One morning, I found my notebook gone. I didn't ask her. Something in me knew not to. The next night, she kissed me on the forehead and said, "You're starting to remember." I didn't know what she meant, but the way she looked at me when she said it, it wasn't her. 2 weeks later, I found a hidden folder on her laptop. It was named Dreams. Inside were video files. Dozens of them. No thumbnails, just black screens with dates for titles, going back years. I picked the most recent one. When I opened it, my own face stared back at me, sleeping, in bed, from the corner of the room. The footage was grainy, like it came from a night vision camera. It ran for hours. I skipped ahead. Around 2:17 a.m., Emily walked into the frame. She just stood there watching me. For 20 minutes. Still. Silent. Then, right before the file ended, she leaned in close to my sleeping face and whispered something. I turned the volume all the way up. Replayed it 5 times. "You're almost ready." I couldn't sleep after that. I couldn't eat. I started faking going to work. I'd leave the apartment and just sit in my car trying to figure out what the hell was going on. I wanted to leave her. I tried to. But every time I got close to packing a bag or saying goodbye, she'd show up behind me, hug me from behind, press her face into my shoulder and say, "You don't have to be afraid of me." But I was afraid of her. I was terrified. One night I tried to sneak into her closet, the one she kept locked. She always carried the key on a chain around her neck. Never took it off. Not even in the shower. But I waited until she was asleep and tried to slide it off. She grabbed my wrist in her sleep. Tight. Her eyes were still closed. But she whispered, "You're not ready." I pulled away and ran into the bathroom, locked the door and sat on the floor for an hour. My heart was pounding so loud I could barely hear myself think. The next morning, she made me pancakes like nothing happened, kissed me on the cheek, smiled, said, "I love you more every day." I wanted to believe it was just a phase, some weird sleepwalking thing. Maybe I was projecting, maybe I was spiraling. But then I got a call. From a number I didn't recognize, a woman. She sounded out of breath, panicked. Is this Alex?" "Yeah," I said slowly. She paused. "You don't know me, but I think you're living with my sister." I froze. "Emily never mentioned a sister." "She's not who she says she is," the woman said. "That's not even her real name. Whatever she's doing, you need to leave." Then she hung up. That night I searched the apartment top to bottom. I found a box behind the dryer. Inside were IDs, photos, hair ties, small items gone all from different men. Some of the photos were Polaroids of them sleeping. Just like the videos, one of them was a picture of me. From the first night I stayed over. I was asleep on the couch. Underneath that photo was a sticky note that said, "He's close." I confronted her the next day. I don't know what I thought would happen. But when I showed her the box, she didn't flinch. She didn't deny it, she just smiled. That same wrong smile, and said, "You've seen him now, haven't you?" "Seen who?" I demanded. "The one inside me. That was 2 nights ago. She hasn't left the bedroom since. I hear her talking to herself at night. Sometimes it sounds like her. Sometimes it doesn't. Last night I peeked in and saw her sitting on the floor, rocking slowly, staring into the mirror. Her reflection wasn't moving. I swear to God, it wasn't. She was rocking. But the girl in the mirror was still smiling. I'm sleeping on the couch now, with the lights on. I have the box. I still have one of the old IDs. I looked it up. The guy's been missing for 4 years. Vanished after moving in with his girlfriend, same city. Same name, Emily. I don't know who she is. I don't know what she is. But sometimes, when she looks at me, I see him. Not the old him, the missing guy. Something in his eyes, inside her eyes, like he's still in there, trapped. Watching. The first time Maya left me on red, I figured she was just mad. We'd had a small argument the night before. Something stupid about her always being on her phone but never replying to mine. She rolled her eyes, mumbled something about me being clingy, and that was that. Except it wasn't. Because the next morning she was gone. No note. No texts. No signs of struggle, just gone. Her car keys were still on the counter. Her phone charger was still plugged into the wall. Her half-full coffee mug sat where she always left it, by the sink. At first I thought maybe she just needed space, a break. Maybe she went to her sister's place to cool off, and even though she hated her sister. Still, I called, no answer. I called again, nothing. Then I checked our messages, delivered, not read, which would have made sense if she hadn't read it 3 hours ago. I watched the read receipt disappear in real time. Then something weird happened. The chat history between us reset. Everything was still there, every dumb meme, every flirt, every I love you. But my name in her phone had changed from Alex to just Alex, and the profile photo was gone. By the next day I called the cops. They didn't take it seriously. "She's an adult," they said. "Give it 48 hours. She'll probably come back." But something in me knew she wasn't just off the grid. Maya wasn't like that. She loved routine. Grocery runs every Sunday. Skincare every night. Phone always on silent but never off. So when she didn't come back the second night, I searched the apartment again. Her phone was missing. So was her laptop. But her wallet, still there. Her toothbrush, still wet. I called her job. She hadn't shown up. No call, no email, nothing. They asked if she was okay. I lied and said yes. I don't know why I did that. Maybe because part of me hoped she'd just walk back in the door and roll her eyes like I was being dramatic. But she didn't. 4 days later, the police finally opened a missing person file. I gave them everything. Photos, her social media handles, screenshots of our last conversation. One of the officers asked if she was depressed. I said no. She was anxious sometimes, sure. But not leave everything behind anxious. That's when the text started again. At first, I thought it was a cruel prank. It was 2:39 a.m., and I was half asleep on the couch when I heard my phone buzz. It was a message from Maya. Hey. That was it. Just hey, no emojis. No sorry. No, I'm okay. Just one word, like nothing had happened. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. Where are you? Are you okay? Please call me. Read, but she didn't respond. A minute passed. Then 2. Then came a second message. It's cold here. My heart dropped. Cold? Where the hell was she? I called her immediately. Straight to voicemail. I typed again, cold where? What's happening? Tell me where you are. I'll come get you. No reply. Just read. I couldn't sleep after that. I stared at my phone until the sun came up. I screenshotted the texts, ready to forward them to the detective assigned to her case. But when I opened the chat the next morning, the messages were gone. Not deleted. Gone. Like they were never sent. And her number? It said, this user is not available. That's when I started spiraling. I checked Maya's Instagram. It was still up and same grid, same old photos. But something was different. I couldn't explain it at first, just a vibe. Like her smile looked more forced, her captions felt colder. And then I saw it. A new story, posted an hour ago. Just a black screen with faint white text. I missed the quiet. I screenshotted it, but before I could click, it disappeared. And when I refreshed her profile, and it was gone. No posts, no bio, no profile pic. Just a blank shell. I texted again. Nothing. I DM'd her account. Message failed. It was like she was erasing herself. The worst part? No one else believed me. Her friends thought I was spiraling. The police said maybe someone hacked her account. But deep down, I knew it was her. It felt like her. And that night, I got more proof. I was in bed trying to sleep when my phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. It was her photo. A selfie, blurry like it was taken in motion. Her face was pale, eyes wide, and behind her was nothing but black. Pitch black, like she was standing in a void. Then came a second message. You're not listening. I stared at the image, my hands shaking. My skin went cold. I felt like I was being watched. I looked around the room. Nothing but the air. It felt thick, heavy, like something was in the room with me. Then my phone buzzed again. I didn't want to leave. That was when I finally lost it. I texted back in all caps. Where are you? Who has you? Are you okay? No response, just a final text, you will. After that last message, you will. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I couldn't. I started checking my phone compulsively every couple of minutes, like her next text might save her. Or me. The cops stopped returning my calls. Maya's friends stopped answering too. I could hear it in their voices the last time we spoke. The exhaustion, the suspicion. They thought I'd made it all up, or worse, that I'd done something to her and couldn't deal with the guilt. But I wasn't crazy. I wasn't imagining this because the next night my phone rang. No caller ID, just a black screen. The name said M. I picked up. There was no sound at first. Just static, and then breathing, not Maya's, deeper, ragged, wet. And behind it, a whisper, too quiet to make out at first. I turned up the volume, pressed the phone tight to my ear, then I heard it. You left me. You forgot me. And then it hung up. I threw up in the sink. I wish I could say I was just scared, but it wasn't fear. It was grief. Because in that moment I realized something deep down I hadn't admitted yet. Maya wasn't coming back. Not really. I stayed off my phone for 2 days after that. Didn't answer texts. Didn't scroll. I turned off the Wi-Fi, unplugged the router. I even turned off the GPS on all my apps. But the messages still came. Not text this time. Notifications. New airdrop from Maya. I stared at the screen. Frozen. How was she even close enough? I hit decline. A second later, new airdrop from unknown. I declined again. Then came a third. This time I accidentally hit accept. It was a video. It started black. Just the sound of wind, maybe breathing. Hard to tell. Then the camera tilted. And I saw her Maya, or something that looked like her, but she wasn't moving right. Her limbs twitched like they weren't connected properly, like she was learning how to be her. Her head snapped toward the camera. Her eyes were too wide. Lips slightly parted. No blinking, she smiled, but her teeth were wrong. Jagged, not sharp, just wrong, like they weren't hers. And then, in a glitchy, overlapping voice, like two people speaking over each other, she said, "Let me in." That night, I slept in my car, didn't matter. At 3:12 a.m., my radio turned on by itself, static. Again. Then a slow, dragging voice whispered through the speakers, "You're closer now." I started researching. I know how this sounds, but I was desperate. I dug through old message boards, weird subreddits, online paranormal archives. I searched phrases she had used. "You're almost ready." "You will." "It's cold here." One post caught my attention. It was years old, from a burner account. The thread title was, "When They Ghost You and Don't Stay Gone." The post was short. She left. I thought it was over. Then she started messaging again. Not herself. "If you see her eyes change, it's too late. Burn the phone. Delete everything, or she'll crawl through the connection." I threw my phone in the sink, let it sizzle under running water, then smashed it with a hammer. I felt insane. But I also felt relief. For 2 nights, everything was quiet. No dreams, no glitches. Just silence. Until I checked my laptop. There was a video file on the desktop I didn't download. Titled MissMe.move. It was from the webcam. It showed me, asleep, on the couch alone. Then halfway through, Maya walked into frame. Naked, hair-soaked, skin pale and sagging like she'd been drowned. She sat next to me, stared into the camera, then she whispered, "You're mine now." I slammed the lid shut, unplugged it, smashed it too. But that night she came in person. I woke up at 4:17 a.m. to the sound of knocking. Not on my front door. On the window. I live on the 2nd floor. She was there, outside, smiling. Her hair hung over her face like it was floating in water. Her breath fogged the glass in slow, rhythmic puffs. Then she lifted a hand and wrote one word in the condensation. "Let Maine, no spaces." All one word. I backed away. Called 911 from the burner I'd bought earlier that day. But when the cops came, the window was clean. No fog, no prints. They gave me a look like, "Dude, you need sleep." I moved the next morning, didn't pack much. Just clothes and a few essentials. Left everything else. My lease was almost up anyway. I changed my number. Deleted every account. Started fresh. Things were quiet for 3 weeks, then I got a text. No contact name. Just a local number. "Hey." And a second one, seconds later. "It's cold here." That's where I am now. Sitting in the dark, staring at the screen. I didn't reply this time, but the message was read anyway. I don't think she's in my phone anymore. I don't think she's even in the messages. I think she's in me. I should have known something was off when she made me promise never to show up at her job. "No surprises," she said. "Not even cute ones." Back then it didn't seem weird. Natalie worked in finance, dry stuff, long hours. I figured she just wanted to keep her personal life separate. Respectable, honestly. The boundary made her seem mature, but now I know the truth. There wasn't a boundary. There was a lie. We met through mutual friends. She was magnetic in that soft, quiet way. The kind of girl who didn't need to take over a room because the room adjusted to her. And I fell. Hard. By month 2, I was spending every night at her place. Her apartment was cozy, minimal, a little too curated, like a model home. Nothing personal. No photos, no clutter. Just white walls, sleek furniture, and those flickering candles that never seemed to burn down. She told me she'd lost most of her stuff in a bad breakup. Said her ex kept a lot of it. I believed her. Of course I did, until I met her neighbor. It happened on a Tuesday. Natalie had left early for an off-site meeting. I overslept, went to grab a coffee, and on my way out of her building, this middle-aged woman across the hall smiled at me and said, "Still crashing with Emily?" I blinked. "Sorry?" She chuckled. "You must be the new one. I hope she warned you. Emily doesn't do long-term." I tried to laugh, but my throat closed. "Who's Emily?" Her smile faltered. "Wait, that's not her name?" I didn't answer. Just walked out the door with my pulse hammering in my ears. That night, I didn't say anything. I just watched her a little closer. She was herself, playful, affectionate, casual. But the next morning, when she got in the shower, I did something I hadn't done before. I opened her closet. It was half empty, like always. But at the very back, hidden under a zipped garment bag, I found a shoebox. Inside were 3 old phones. All dead, all different colors. One still had a photo sticker on the back. 2 people kissing. Not us, I turned it over. Someone had carved the initials ES into the plastic. ES Emily. S? I closed the box, shoved it back where I found it, and left. The next day, I called out sick and followed her. She took the subway 4 stops downtown, not toward the finance office she always talked about. Instead, she walked to a small brick building with no sign. She keyed in a code and disappeared inside. I waited outside. 45 minutes later, she came out, in a different outfit, not work clothes. A silky burgundy dress. Hair down, makeup on. She looked different, not like a disguise, like another version of her. She got into a black car and drove off. I followed in an Uber 3 cars behind. We stopped in front of a brownstone in an upscale neighborhood. She walked up the steps and rang the bell. A man answered, smiled, kissed her. She stepped inside. I wanted to puke. I sat in that Uber for almost an hour. My hands were shaking too hard to text. I told myself maybe it was a client, maybe a friend, maybe her brother. But I knew. I saw the way she looked at him. I know how she looks at someone she's lying to. I confronted her that night. I didn't even try to play it cool. Who's Emily? I asked the second she walked through the door. She froze mid-step, just for a split second. But I saw it, she laughed it off. Emily? Your neighbor called you that. And I saw you today. You changed clothes and went to that guy's house. What the hell is going on? Her face stayed calm, but her eyes, they didn't. Don't follow me again, she said, quiet, cold, that was it, no denial. No anger, no tears, just that one sentence. Not like a threat, but a rule. Then she walked into the bathroom and locked the door. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling while she lay beside me, still and silent like a doll. In the dark, I kept seeing her in that burgundy dress, her smile, the way she'd morphed into someone else, like she'd done it before. I checked those old phones again the next day while she was at work. One still had saved photos, 6 different guys, all different ages. One of them had commented under every post, "Miss you, Em." After I found those photos on her old phone, the ones with the guys, the smiling selfies, the "miss you," and comments, I started looking at everything in our relationship differently. Every time she'd been vague, every time she'd dodged a question, every little gap in her stories that I'd brushed off because I loved her. They weren't gaps, they were exits, doors to other lives. That night I didn't confront her. I wanted to scream. But I needed more. More proof, something I couldn't be gaslit out of. So the next day I went back to that brick building she went into. I waited outside until someone came out and I slipped inside before the door closed. It wasn't an office. It wasn't even a business, it was a private club. No signs, just dim hallways and dark wood paneling. I saw a front desk with a woman who didn't look surprised to see me, just annoyed. "You a guest of Emily's?" she asked. I froze. I'm a friend, I said. The woman tilted her head. "Which one?" She said it so casually. "Which one?" I left. I walked straight out, heart slamming in my chest. I didn't even know what I'd just walked into. Some secret social club? An escort ring? A cult? But I couldn't shake the way that woman said it. Like Emily bringing around multiple friends wasn't unusual. Like it was part of a routine, I went home. Natalie was already there, cooking dinner like nothing had happened. She smiled at me like everything was normal. "Good day?" she asked. I didn't answer. I sat down and stared at her and finally said, "Who the hell are you?" She stopped stirring the pasta. Didn't turn around. Didn't flinch, then calmly, "Do you want the truth?" I nodded slowly. She turned off the stove, set the spoon down, and walked over to me, wiping her hands on a towel. "You don't really want the truth," she said, sitting across from me. "You want the version that lets you stay. What the hell does that mean?" She leaned in. "If I told you everything, you'd either leave or you'd stop being you. And I like you, just the way you are." That was when I realized she was enjoying this. The lies, the control, the double life. I stood up. "I'm done," she smiled. "You always say that." That night I packed a bag. I didn't say goodbye. I just waited until she went to the bathroom, grabbed my stuff, and walked out the door. She didn't come after me. Didn't text. Didn't call. And for a week I felt free, until I got the letter, mailed to my parents' house. No return address, just my name on the envelope. Inside was a single photo. Me, sleeping, in the apartment. Taken from above. On the back in sharp black ink it said, "You never left." "You just forgot." I called the police. They took a report but said there was no actionable threat. They asked if I had a restraining order. I didn't. I hadn't thought I'd need one. They said without proof she took the photo, there wasn't much they could do. That night I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the house made me jump. Every buzz of my phone made my stomach drop. At 2:44 a.m., I got an email from an account I didn't recognize. Subject line, "For you." Inside was a link. I shouldn't have clicked it. It opened to a video. Black and white. Surveillance style. Looped audio. I was in it. Lying on the couch at Natalie's place, sleeping alone. Then she walked into frame, slowly, deliberately, and stood over me. She crouched down. Whispered something in my ear, then turned to the camera. Smiled. That same cold, knowing smile. The screen glitched. The video started again. Only this time I wasn't sleeping. I was sitting up, eyes open, smiling back. That's when it hit me. She hadn't been trying to hide her other life. She'd been building a new one, around me, like she was rehearsing it, rewriting it, over and over again until it stuck. The next morning I went back to the building. I had to. I needed answers. But when I got there, it was empty, totally vacant. Papered windows. Dust everywhere. No signs anyone had been there for years. I asked the neighboring businesses how long it had been closed. They all said the same thing. That building's been empty since 2018. I called Natalie. Straight to voicemail. I texted, undelivered. I looked up her social media. All gone, she'd vanished, or maybe she was never really there at all. 3 days later, I woke up in my own apartment. The couch was different. The furniture, familiar, but wrong. The framed photos on the walls weren't mine. The people in them looked like me, but slightly off. My reflection in the mirror blinked a second too late. And when I checked my phone, her contact was saved again. Not as Natalie, but as Emily Excellent, moving forward to... I wasn't trying to be nosy. Seriously. I know how that sounds, but I wasn't. It started with her being weird about the drawer. The top drawer of her nightstand. From the day I moved in with Mia, she made one thing weirdly clear. Don't open that. Not like a playful, I keep my secrets in there thing. She said it flat, serious. Her eyes didn't move. The first time she caught me reaching for it to put away some cables, she didn't even raise her voice. Just whispered, "Don't," I joked, tried to laugh it off. She didn't. Now here's the thing, I trusted her. We'd been dating almost a year. She was funny, brilliant, and a little mysterious. But it never felt dangerous, just guarded. Her apartment was small, clean, always smelled like lavender and eucalyptus. Mia worked remotely in UX design, all whiteboards and wireframes. Chill job, chill life, except for that drawer. Every night before bed, she'd sit on the edge of the mattress, unlock it with a tiny silver key she wore on a chain around her neck, open it for maybe 5 seconds, then close and lock it again. I never saw what was inside. I didn't want to push. Everyone has their boundaries. But one night after she fell asleep early, I got curious. I wasn't going to open it. Just look at the key. She was wearing the chain as usual. I gently pulled it up, careful not to wake her. The key was smaller than I thought. Old-looking. A little rusted. And then she whispered, eyes still shut, "Don't do that." I froze. Her breathing didn't change. She didn't open her eyes, just turned over and kept sleeping. That's when it started to feel less like a boundary and more like a rule. And rules like that? They exist for something. I decided I'd open it just once, just to know, and I waited for the perfect moment. The opportunity came 3 weeks later. She had a last-minute overnight work trip in Denver, some in-person UX conference. She left in a rush, forgot to take her chain. I didn't even hesitate. The second the Uber pulled away, I went into the bedroom. The drawer looked the same as always. Plain, wooden, unassuming. I slid the key in. It clicked. I opened it slowly, heart pounding like I was doing something illegal. Inside were three things: a small leather notebook, aged and worn at the corners, a black velvet pouch, a single Polaroid. Face down, that was it. No severed fingers, no vials of blood, just personal stuff. Still, it felt wrong, like the air in the room changed the second the drawer opened. Colder, heavier. I reached for the notebook first. Inside were pages of writing. Same phrase, over and over and over. He'll forget, then come back. He always comes back, at least 50 pages. Same sentence, no variations, no explanation. Then a page with a sketch, drawn in charcoal or maybe pencil. It was me, asleep, hair messy, mouth slightly open, my face in perfect detail. I flipped back and there were 4 more drawings of me, each from a different angle. One from the bathroom, one from the couch, one of me looking confused, like I knew she was watching. I dropped the notebook, tried to steady my breath. I reached for the pouch next. Inside were teeth, not human, small. Animal maybe? Sharp, yellowed. At the bottom, a folded sticky note. For remembering. My hands were shaking. I turned over the Polaroid. It was me, smiling, standing in the hallway of our apartment. Only, I'd never seen that photo before. And I'd never worn that shirt. Then I looked closer. In the background, behind me, was Mia, but not my Mia. Same face, same hair, but her expression was wrong. Her eyes were hollow, her mouth too wide, like someone pretending to smile, like a version of her I'd never seen. And on the back of the photo, try again. Absolutely, here's the chilling conclusion. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the photo, turning it over and over in my hands like touching it might unlock a meaning that made sense. But it didn't, because I knew 2 things for sure. That wasn't a picture of me. Not really. And the girl in the background, the one who looked like Mia, wasn't her either. It was her face, yeah, but not her eyes, not the way she stood. The girl in the photo stood straighter, colder, like a doll propped up to look human. That photo had been taken in our hallway. Our place, but I didn't remember it. I put everything back the way I found it. The notebook, the pouch, the photo, closed the drawer, locked it, and rehung the key on her necklace before she came home the next day. And I waited for her to say something, for the air between us to change. But it didn't. Mia walked in, kissed me like normal, asked how my night was, curled up on the couch like nothing had happened. No suspicion, no questions, just Mia, except it wasn't. Over the next few days, I started seeing things. She began doing little things differently, subtle things. She poured her cereal before the milk. She never used to. She started humming in the shower, a melody I didn't recognize. And she called me babe instead of love, which felt tiny, but felt wrong. Then one night I said without thinking, "Hey, what was your UX conference like?" She looked at me for a moment too long, then smiled. Long. You know how those things are. She never asked how my night was, never asked if I'd missed her. It was like she was reciting answers from a script. That night I dreamed I was in the apartment, but not the real one. It looked the same, but things were off. All the photos on the walls were of people who looked like me, but weren't. And in every picture, there was a different version of Mia standing beside me. Same face, different hair, different expressions, different eyes. And when I walked past the bedroom door in the dream, the drawer was open. Inside were dozens of Polaroids, dozens of me's, all smiling, all unaware. And at the very bottom, a note that just said, "He always opens it." I woke up sweating. Mia was already up, making coffee. Humming again. I watched her from the hallway. She moved like her. Looked like her, but the longer I stared, the more I realized. That wasn't Mia. I waited until she went for groceries. Said she'd be gone an hour. I went straight to the drawer. Opened it with the key, which she still wore but had left on the counter this time like she wanted me to find it. The drawer wasn't the same. The notebook was gone. So was the pouch. All that was inside was a small folded map, hand-drawn. It showed a layout that looked like our apartment, but with extra doors, one near the bathroom, One behind the closet, and one where the drawer should be. Drawn in red ink, with a label next to it, entry point. Suddenly, I heard footsteps in the hallway, way too fast to be hers. I shoved the drawer shut, locked it, tossed the key back on the counter, and pretended to be scrolling through my phone. Mia walked in holding only one grocery bag, eyes a little wider than usual. "Smile too stiff? Forget something?" she asked. I blinked. "What?" While I was gone, I didn't answer. She set the bag down, still smiling. Then, dead quiet. "You opened it." I didn't say anything. She stepped closer. "You were supposed to wait longer this time." I stepped back. "This time?" She tilted her head like I was slow. "You always open it. You always get curious. You always ruin it." She wasn't mad. She wasn't even sad. She was disappointed. Like she was tired of playing the same game over and over. "You weren't ready yet," she said. And then smiling. "But maybe the next one will be." She walked past me. Into the bedroom. Closed the door. I stood there frozen for 5 minutes before I grabbed my keys and left. That was 4 weeks ago. I moved out, changed my number, blocked every email, deleted every photo, but I keep waking up with memories I don't recognize. Like last night, I dreamed of another apartment, and Mia was there. Only this time, she looked worried. She held my face in her hands and said, "If you see the drawer again, don't open it. It's not for you. It's for them." When I woke up, my hands smelled like lavender and eucalyptus, and I don't keep those scents in my house. I know this sounds like nothing at first, like I'm overthinking it, but once you start noticing it, really noticing it, it never leaves your mind. Maya never ate. Ever. At first, I thought I just wasn't paying attention. She'd make me dinner every night, and not just basic stuff. I'm talking roast chicken, risotto, Thai curry, handmade pasta. She plated everything like she was on a cooking show. I used to joke that I hit the jackpot. She'd smile, sit across from me, glass of wine in hand, and ask, "Do you like it?" But she'd never take a bite herself. "Not hungry," she'd say. I snacked during the day. Or, I already ate earlier. It felt like a quirk. And she was always thin. Not in a concerning way, just petite. So I figured, okay, maybe she eats light. Maybe she eats on her own time. I didn't want to push, but it wasn't just dinner, it was every meal. We moved in together 6 months into dating. Things were good, easy. But living together means you start seeing things you can't explain away. Like how she'd pack her lunch every morning, but her containers would still be full when she brought them home. Or how she'd make smoothies, set one out for herself, then accidentally leave it untouched until it was warm and separated. Or the way she'd throw away food after a few bites, even when no one was watching. She always said the same thing. "I'm just not hungry right now," but she never was. One night, I asked her straight up, "Do you actually eat?" She laughed. Not like I was being rude, like she thought the question was cute. "Of course I do," she said. "You just don't see it." But I lived with her, and I started making it a point to watch. The next few days I set up little tests. I made us both breakfast, 2 plates. She said, "Thanks," picked at hers and disappeared into the bathroom. I watched the plate. It sat untouched. She came out 10 minutes later and said, "That was great." I nodded, didn't say anything. That night I offered to cook dinner. She smiled, sat across from me and said she wasn't hungry. "Had a late lunch," she said. "I'll just watch you," I pressed. "Where?" "What did you have?" She blinked. Sushi." "What place?" Long pause, then she smiled again, too wide. "You're cute when you're nosy." After that, I stopped asking, but I didn't stop watching. 2 nights later, I woke up around 2:30 a.m. to the sound of the fridge opening. Our bedroom is right off the kitchen. The light hit the wall through the cracked door. I stayed still, listened. She wasn't walking. She was standing. For a long time. Then the fridge closed. Light went dark, but no footsteps. No movement. I waited another minute. Got up. She wasn't in bed. I walked into the kitchen, heart hammering, empty, completely empty. Fridge closed. Lights off. But one of the drawers was slightly open. The silverware drawer. And inside something was missing. The big knife. The chef's knife she always used to cook. Gone. She came back 10 minutes later, wearing different clothes. A hoodie I'd never seen before. Shoes still on. Bathroom, she said, walking past me. Didn't want to wake you. I didn't say anything. I just watched her walk into the room and saw the missing knife in her hand. No blood. No mess, just the knife. She slid it back into the drawer like it was nothing, then kissed me on the cheek. Go back to sleep, babe. The next day I checked the trash. Nothing weird. But the garbage bag under that one, the one she'd hidden, was full of bones. Small ones. Clean. Not from anything I remembered eating. That night, she made lamb and sat across from me again, smiling, watching. I didn't eat the lamb. I cut it, pushed it around, nodded like it was amazing, but I couldn't swallow a bite. Maya didn't notice. Or she pretended not to. She just watched me like she always did, sipping from her glass of red wine. Her glass was always full, always untouched. That night I set an alarm, Bryce a.m. I don't know why I picked that time exactly. It just felt right. Like if something was going to happen, that's when it would. The alarm buzzed quietly under my pillow. I shut it off fast and listened. Silence. Then, just past 3:17 a.m., I heard the fridge open again. I didn't move immediately. I waited, counted to 30, then slid out of bed, careful not to make a sound. The kitchen light was on, faint under the door. I peeked. Maya was kneeling in front of the open fridge. Her back to me, still, not moving. But something was off. She wasn't getting food. She wasn't rummaging through drawers. She was whispering, fast, low, rhythmic. I couldn't make out the words. Then she reached under the fridge, not inside it, and pulled something up from beneath. A wooden board like part of the floor. I leaned forward to see more, and then I saw it. A hole, a small crawl space, about the size of a dog crate, but deep. She reached in and pulled out a jar, and what was in the jar looked like meat, raw, wet. She unscrewed the lid and set it next to her. And then, I swear to God, she started to eat. No utensils. No plate, just fingers, slipping pieces into her mouth, slowly, almost lovingly chewing, smiling, whispering. I must have made a noise because she stopped suddenly, stiffened, didn't turn around. Just said, "You weren't supposed to see this yet." Her voice was calm, but it didn't sound like her, not entirely. It was deeper, or maybe just older, like someone much, much older was wearing her voice. She didn't look at me. She just placed the jar back into the hole, closed the floorboard and stood up, then turned. Her mouth was red, stained, not dripping, but slick. She didn't flinch. Didn't look scared or guilty, just disappointed. It was going well, she said. "You were almost ready." I backed up. "Ready for what?" She didn't answer. She stepped forward. I stepped back. "You should go now," she said, "before you forget who you are again." I ran. Grabbed my keys and ran. I don't even remember locking the door behind me. I just drove. No destination. Just away. I stayed in a motel that night. Then another. Then another. I haven't gone back. But here's the thing. It's been 3 weeks, and I've started forgetting things. I opened a bag from the apartment and found clothes I don't remember buying. Emails from an address I don't recall making. Photos of me, smiling next to Maya, yes, but in places I know I've never been. An ice cave, a rooftop garden, a desert, all with that same strange lighting. Like the sun was too close, and in each photo I'm smiling. Wide, happy, too happy. Last night I got a package. No return address. Inside was a jar, just like the one under the fridge, and a sticky note. "You'll get hungry soon." I haven't opened it. I keep staring at it, but I haven't thrown it away either because lately nothing tastes right. Food is bland, greasy, dead, but the jar smells warm, alive, great. Now entering the eerie territory of... It started during a solo hike. I wasn't looking for anything, not peace, not healing. I just needed to get out of my apartment. Fresh air, no phone, just trees and silence. I parked at this trailhead 2 hours outside the city. Middle of nowhere. Barely marked. It was early, 7 a.m., and the woods were damp, fog hanging low like the forest was still asleep. I was about a mile in when I saw her. She was sitting on a flat rock just off the path. Pale hoodie, leggings, hair pulled back. Pretty, but not in an obvious way. I'm in that kind of forgettable, familiar way. Like someone you almost recognize from somewhere. She looked up when I passed. "Hey." I stopped, nodded politely. She smiled. "I thought you were someone else." We made small talk. Nothing deep. I asked if she was hiking alone. She nodded. "I like quiet trails. It's easier to find people." I laughed awkwardly. She didn't. 10 minutes later, I said I needed to keep moving. She stood up. "Can I walk with you?" I hesitated. It didn't feel like a creepy ask. Just unexpected, but I nodded. "Sure." She walked half a step behind me, quiet, observant. She didn't ask for my name. Didn't offer hers. Every now and then she'd comment on something random. "You breathe really evenly. You don't slouch like most guys. Your shoes are new." Things that didn't feel complimentary, just noted, like she was memorizing me. At the fork in the trail, I said I was taking the longer loop. "That's okay," she said. "I've walked it." I didn't ask how often she hiked here. Something told me she wasn't local. At the ridge, where the view opened up and most people stopped to take photos, she paused. "This is where we say goodbye," she said. I blinked. "What?" "You're going to keep walking," she said. "And I'm going to stay here. But I'll see you soon." I thought it was a weird joke. Gave a half smile. "Okay, nice meeting you." She didn't answer. I walked away. By the time I got back to my car, the parking lot was empty. No other cars. No other hikers. That night I was watching TV when I heard the buzz of my apartment door. Buzz, it was late. Around 11:30 p.m., I checked the intercom screen. She was standing downstairs. Same hoodie. Same neutral face. I just froze. I hadn't told her my name. I hadn't said where I lived. I hadn't spoken much at all. I didn't answer. She stood there for 5 full minutes before walking away. I didn't sleep that night. Kept checking the window. The hallway. My locks. Nothing. By morning, I convinced myself I imagined it, until I opened my phone. There was a text from an unknown number. "You breathe differently when you're scared." I changed my locks the next day. Told myself I was being paranoid, overreacting. But the look on her face when she stood outside my building. It wasn't threatening, it was patient. Like she knew I'd let her in eventually. The text kept replaying in my head. "You breathe differently when you're scared." That wasn't something you say to scare someone. That was something you said when you knew them. Intimately. Closely. Like you'd studied them, like you'd lived with them. For 3 days, there was nothing. No text, no intercom buzz, no sign of her. I started to believe it was over. But then things inside my apartment began to feel wrong. Subtle stuff. The blanket on my couch folded slightly differently than I remembered. A spoon in the drying rack that I didn't use. My bathroom mirror fogged up at 3 a.m. even though I hadn't showered. And then there were the Post-its, one on my fridge. "You sleep on your left side first," one on my nightstand. "You chew twice before you swallow," and then the one that made me sit down and almost throw up. "You didn't notice I moved your toothbrush." I searched the whole apartment. Every cabinet. Every closet. Nothing. No one. I even pulled the fire alarm just to get people in the hallway. Anything to prove I wasn't alone in this. That night I stayed up. Lights on. Knife in hand. Phone on video recording the whole living room. Around 2:54 a.m. I started to nod off, and then I heard it. Not footsteps. Breathing. Not from the hallway. From the inside of my apartment it was soft, rhythmic, coming from under the couch. I didn't move, didn't speak, just reached for my phone, still recording, and hit stop. Then I ran. I didn't go back until the next morning. Brought a friend. We lifted the couch. Nothing underneath, but in the space behind it, kind of wedged into the floorboard, one was a phone, not mine. When I powered it on, there were dozens of photos, all of me. Sleeping, showering, walking shirtless to the fridge, lying on the couch, all taken from inside my apartment. I moved out that day, didn't even take half my stuff. Got a new number, deleted social media. Started fresh, but even now, weeks later, I keep getting these texts from unlisted numbers. They don't say anything threatening. They just say things that only someone very close to me could know. You smile a little when you lie. You always leave the water running for 2 seconds after brushing. And last night, I liked you more when you didn't notice me. The house was a rental, A big two-story place tucked into a quiet cul-de-sac just outside Portland. It was old, creaky, drafty in the mornings, but we loved it. Well, she loved it. Mia found it. Said it reminded her of her grandmother's house. Said it gave her quiet energy, whatever that meant. At first it was charming, cozy, like we were starting a new chapter, until I asked about the basement. It was the third day after we moved in. I was unpacking a box of kitchen stuff when I noticed the basement door in the hallway, locked with a thick bolt across it. "Landlord lock it?" I asked. Mia didn't look up from the dishes. "No, I did." I waited for her to elaborate. "She didn't. You locked it?" "Yeah. Why?" She wiped her hands dry and turned to face me, smile faint. "It's not a good space." That was it. I asked a few more times over the next week. She never got mad, just repeated some version of the same thing. "It's not important. It's just old storage. It's better left alone." You know how when someone tells you not to look at something, it becomes the only thing you think about? That was the basement. I started having dreams about it. Not even nightmares. Just dreams of opening the door, walking down wooden steps into black, never reaching the bottom. Always waking up before I got there. I asked the landlord about it when Mia wasn't around. He just chuckled. "That thing? Never been down there myself. Probably rats." That didn't make me feel better. We'd been in the house about a month when I heard it. It was 2:12 a.m. Mia was asleep beside me, and I was scrolling on my phone trying to get tired when I heard something faint, like a tap, echo up through the floor. Just once. Then silence. Then again. Tap, tap, tap. Not constant, just irregular. Like something down there was moving around. I shook her awake. "Babe, there's something downstairs." She barely opened her eyes. "It's an old house." Chill. And rolled over. The next morning, I brought it up over coffee. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept either. "I didn't hear anything," she said, but her hand was trembling as she poured milk into her cereal. That night, I waited until she was asleep and snuck into the hallway. The door looked older than the rest of the house, thick, heavy wood. The bolt was rusted. The padlock wasn't. I tried the knob. Locked, of course. Then I put my ear against the wood. Nothing. I started to pull away when I heard it again. Just one word. Barely audible. "Hey," soft, from the other side. I stumbled backward, heart racing. Then Mia was suddenly there in the hallway behind me, half in shadow. You shouldn't listen to them. I didn't sleep that night. Over the next few days, the noises got worse, knocking, scratching, and always at night. Always from beneath the floor. Mia started sleeping less, eating less. She kept candles burning in the hallway, tall white ones. Said they were for protection. I asked, "Protection from what?" She just said, "They're not strong enough to open it. Yet. That word chilled me more than anything. I finally snapped on a Thursday night. The whispers had gotten loud. Full sentences I couldn't quite catch. And when I looked at Mia, curled up on the couch, eyes open but distant, I realized she was listening to them too. That Thursday night, something in me cracked. I stood there in the hallway, staring at the locked basement door, listening to the low, wet whispers seeping through the wood, and I realized I couldn't live like this anymore. Not with her. Not in this house. Not above that. I turned to Mia. She was on the couch, hugging her knees, rocking slightly. She hadn't spoken in almost an hour. "I'm opening it," I said. She didn't look up, didn't argue, just whispered, "Then it'll never let you go." The next morning I called out of work. While Mia slept, or pretended to, I went to the hardware store, bought bolt cutters. I stood in front of the basement door at 9:46 a.m., bright sunlight outside. Still, the hallway felt cold. I clipped the lock. The metal hit the floor louder than I expected. The air shifted. Like the house exhaled, I opened the door. It groaned, wood on wood. Darkness yawned below me, too dark for daylight. Like the basement swallowed light as soon as it crossed the threshold. There was no light switch, no bulb. Just wooden stairs disappearing into black. It smelled old and something else. Something sharp, wet, rotting. I grabbed a flashlight, started walking down. The air got heavier with each step. 10 stairs, 15, still no floor. I started to feel dizzy. like the staircase was longer than it should have been. Then, the bottom, concrete floor, cold. The beam of my flashlight caught the far wall. Stained brick. Wet in places, mold crawling in the corners, and then something moved, not fast, not threatening, just a shape in the far left corner, small, curled, breathing. I stepped closer. It was a girl, or something shaped like a girl, thin, gray-skinned, eyes too wide, no lips, and just teeth. Tiny white teeth that stretched far too long into her cheeks. She didn't react to the light, didn't move at all, she just whispered, "I missed you." I backed up the stairs so fast I nearly tripped, slammed. The door re-bolted it, turned to find Mia standing behind. Me expressionless. "You weren't supposed to go alone," she said. I didn't speak to her the rest of the day. I couldn't. Everything in my body wanted to run. But something kept me rooted. Not fear, not love. Something heavier. Like I'd touched something I shouldn't have. And it touched me back. That night, I pretended to sleep. At 2:33 a.m., I heard her. Mia. She opened the basement door again. I followed. She didn't bring a flashlight. She didn't need one. She walked those stairs like she'd done it 100 times, maybe more. I watched from the top, barely breathing. She knelt beside the girl thing, whispered to it, stroked its hair, and from her pocket she pulled something raw, red, still dripping. She held it up to the creature and it ate, fast, like it hadn't fed in days. I felt bile rise in my throat and then I heard it. Not from Mia, from the girl, but not in her voice, in mine. "Help me." I gasped, too loud. Mia's head snapped up. "You're not supposed to see that part," she said. Her voice was calm, sad almost. "You ruined it again." I ran, didn't pack, didn't look back, just ran. That was 3 months ago. I moved across the country. New job, new apartment, no contact, no trace. But the dreams followed me. Every night, I see that staircase. Every night I hear the voice. My voice, from the bottom. "Help me. You forgot again." And this morning I got a letter. No return address. Inside was a key. Old, rusted, familiar, and a sticky note. "It's time to come home. She's hungry again." We were lying on her couch, some indie horror movie playing quietly in the background. And I mentioned how cool her record collection was and all vintage, all perfectly preserved. "They were his," she said softly. I turned. "Your ex?" She nodded. "He died. A few months before we met." I didn't know what to say. I mumbled something like, "I'm sorry." She just gave me a tired smile and added, "He killed himself." It wasn't said to shock me. It wasn't dramatic. She said it like she'd told the story too many times. I didn't press. That was early on, back when I thought she was mysterious in a sexy way. Quiet, sharp, always one step ahead of what I was thinking. A little sad, sure, but aren't we all? Her name was Callie. She had that strange kind of beauty that made you second-guess yourself. The kind that didn't ask for attention but got it anyway. By the time she moved into my place, I was fully hooked. The first time I saw him, I thought it was a dream. I'd gotten up to pee around 4 a.m., and as I walked back toward the bedroom, I glanced out the window, just a habit. There was someone standing on the sidewalk, under the street lamp, staring up at our window, hands in the pockets of a faded denim jacket. Still. Too still. I blinked, looked again, gone. I told myself it was nothing. A trick of the light, a shadow. But the image stayed with me, that stillness, like he knew I was watching. The next day I brought it up. "Hey, you ever feel like someone's watching us from outside?" Callie was reading. She didn't look up. "Is this a bit?" "No, I'm serious." She turned a page. "If it's someone you saw at night, it's probably nothing." I thought I saw a guy. Just standing there, she finally looked at me. Something flickered in her expression. Not fear, guilt. "People pass through here all the time." Then she added, almost as an afterthought, "He used to stand like that." My ex, I didn't know what to say to that. Weeks passed. Things started to feel off, not dramatic. Just small, eerie shifts. Callie stopped sleeping through the night. She'd sit up in bed and stare at the door like she was expecting it to open. I'd wake up and find her standing in the living room. lights off, watching the hallway from the window. Every time I asked what she was doing, she'd just say, listening. One day while she was out, I snooped. I know, I shouldn't have. But something was gnawing at me. She had a small lockbox in her closet. Old metal tucked under sweaters. It wasn't locked. Inside were a few photos of her and her ex, smiling, hugging, younger. But one of them stopped me cold. It was a candid shot of him sitting on a park bench, head turned slightly like he'd just noticed the camera. But in the background was me sitting at a table, reading a book, same hoodie, same backpack only. The photo was dated 2 years before I met Callie. I set the photo down and sat on the floor for a long time, trying to remember that day. That bench, that guy, but I couldn't. Or maybe I didn't want to. That night I didn't mention it. I needed to figure out how to ask her without sounding crazy. Instead, I asked something else. How did he die? She stiffened. I told you. Yeah, but what happened exactly? She didn't answer at first, then said, he wouldn't let go. I waited for more. She didn't give it. She just rolled over in bed and said, don't ask again. A few nights later, I woke up to scratching. Not loud, just soft, steady, coming from the inside of the closet. I got up, opened it fast. Nothing, just her sweaters. The lockbox. But the air inside smelled weird, earthy, like wet leaves. And under the clothes, I found a single item I hadn't noticed before, a faded denim jacket still damp. When I turned around, Callie was standing in the doorway, eyes wide, voice flat, don't wear that. The next morning the jacket was gone. I started dreaming about him, always from behind, always standing at the end of a long hallway, motionless. In the dreams, I'd call out and he'd turn slowly. His face always looked like mine, but not quite right, like someone trying very hard to wear me. I asked Callie again, was your ex ever violent? She didn't look up from her tea, not until the end. Did he hurt you? No. Pause. He hurt you. That was the moment I knew. I wasn't crazy. Something was deeply wrong. The next night I set up a camera. Just one. Facing the window. Motion activated. Callie was already asleep. I told myself this was about protecting her too. I didn't sleep. At 3:09 a.m. the camera buzzed. Motion detected. I opened the feed. He was back. Same denim jacket. Same empty eyes, but this time he wasn't on the sidewalk. He was inside. Standing in the hallway facing the bedroom. I ran out. Nothing there. No door open. No signs of entry, but the jacket was back in the closet, dry, neatly hung. I confronted her, told her everything. The dreams. The camera. The photo of me from years ago. She listened. Calm. Too calm, then said, he doesn't like you. Who is he? She stared at me. He wanted to be seen. He always wants that first, yo. Callie, tell me the truth. She smiled softly. You always ask that. Every time I left, didn't take anything, just drove. That was 2 weeks ago. But the dreams keep coming, and yesterday, someone slid a photo under my apartment door. A Polaroid. Me. Asleep. And standing in the corner of the room, barely visible in the shadows, was someone wearing my face and a denim jacket. We were lying on her couch, some indie horror movie playing quietly in the background, and I mentioned how cool her record collection was. All vintage, all perfectly preserved. They were his, she said softly. I turned. Your ex? She nodded. He died a few months before we met. I didn't know what to say. I mumbled something like, I'm sorry. She just gave me a tired smile and added, he killed himself. It wasn't said to shock me. It wasn't dramatic. She said it like she'd told the story too many times. I didn't press. That was early on, back when I thought she was mysterious in a sexy way. Quiet, sharp, always one step ahead of what I was thinking. A little sad, sure. But aren't we all? Her name was Callie. She had that strange kind of beauty that made you second-guess yourself. The kind that didn't ask for attention but got it anyway. By the time she moved into my place, I was fully hooked. The first time I saw him, I thought it was a dream. I'd gotten up to pee around 4 a.m., and as I walked back toward the bedroom, I glanced out the window, just a habit. There was someone standing on the sidewalk, under the street lamp, staring up at our window, hands in the pockets of a faded denim jacket. Still. Too still. I blinked. Looked again. Gone. I told myself it was nothing. A trick of the light, a shadow. But the image stayed with me in that stillness, like he knew I was watching. The next day I brought it up. Hey, you ever feel like someone's watching us from outside? Callie was reading. She didn't look up. Is this a bit? No, I'm serious. She turned a page. If it's someone you saw at night, it's probably nothing. I thought I saw a guy. Just standing there. She finally looked at me. Something flickered in her expression. Not fear? Guilt? People pass through here all the time. Then she added, almost as an afterthought, he used to stand like that. My ex. I didn't know what to say to that. Weeks passed. Things started to feel off, not dramatic. Just small, eerie shifts. Callie stopped sleeping through the night. She'd sit up in bed and stare at the door like she was expecting it to open. I'd wake up and find her standing in the living room, lights off, watching the hallway from the window. Every time I asked what she was doing, she'd just say, listening. One day while she was out, I snooped. I know. I shouldn't have. But something was gnawing at me. She had a small lockbox in her closet. Old metal tucked under sweaters. It wasn't locked. Inside were a few photos of her and her ex, smiling, hugging, younger. But one of them stopped me cold. It was a candid shot of him sitting on a park bench, head turned slightly like he'd just noticed the camera. But in the background was me sitting at a table, reading a book, same hoodie, same backpack, only the photo was dated 2 years before I met Callie. I set the photo down and sat on the floor for a long time, trying to remember that day. That bench, that guy, but I couldn't, or maybe I didn't want to. That night I didn't mention it. I needed to figure out how to ask her without sounding crazy. Instead, I asked something else. How did he die? She stiffened. I told you. Yeah, but what happened exactly? She didn't answer at first, then said, he wouldn't let go. I waited for more. She didn't give it. She just rolled over in bed and said, don't ask again. A few nights later, I woke up to scratching. Not loud, just soft, steady, coming from the inside of the closet. I got up, opened it fast. Nothing, just her sweaters, the lockbox. But the air inside smelled weird, earthy, like wet leaves, and under the clothes, I found a single item I hadn't noticed before. A faded denim jacket, still damp. When I turned around, Callie was standing in the doorway, eyes wide, voice flat. Don't wear that. The next morning, the jacket was gone. I started dreaming about him, always from behind, always standing at the end of a long hallway, motionless. In the dreams, I'd call out and he'd turn slowly. His face always looked like mine, but not quite right, like someone trying very hard to wear me. I asked Callie again, was your ex ever violent? She didn't look up from her tea. Not until the end. Did he hurt you? No. Pause. He hurt you. That was the moment I knew. I wasn't crazy. Something was deeply wrong. The next night I set up a camera, just one, facing the window. Motion activated. Callie was already asleep. I told myself this was about protecting her too. I didn't sleep. At 3:09 a.m., the camera buzzed, motion detected. I opened the feed. He was back. Same denim jacket. Same empty eyes, but this time he wasn't on the sidewalk. He was inside, standing in the hallway, facing the bedroom. I ran out. Nothing there. No door open. No signs of entry, but the jacket was back in the closet, dry, neatly hung. I confronted her, told her everything. The dreams. The camera. The photo of me from years ago. She listened, calm, too calm. Then said, he doesn't like you. Who is he? She stared at me. He wanted to be seen. He always wants that first. Callie, tell me the truth. She smiled softly. You always ask that. Every time I left, didn't take anything, just drove. That was 2 weeks ago. But the dreams keep coming, and yesterday, someone slid a photo under my apartment door. A Polaroid. Me, asleep. And standing in the corner of the room, barely visible in the shadows, was someone wearing my face and a denim jacket. The TV shut off by itself right after she said it. You'll remember again soon. I sat there, frozen on the couch of a house I didn't own, staring at the reflection in the black screen, my own face pale and blank and scared. I didn't move for hours, didn't sleep, didn't eat. I just kept replaying the sound of her voice. Not her voice from when we were together. Not the soft, playful, in-love one. This one was deeper. Flat. Like she was reading from a script. Like she'd said the line 1,000 times and didn't even need to think about it anymore. The next morning, I checked the house from top to bottom. Airbnb or not, I needed to know if she'd already gotten in. I yanked open every closet, flipped over couch cushions, unscrewed the vent covers. Nothing. Until I checked the smart thermostat. Under settings, there was a recent activity log. She'd adjusted the temperature at 2:43 a.m., lowered it by 2 degrees. Then back again. Why? I don't know. But the name on the account login wasn't mine. Wasn't the host's either. It just said Lex still watching. I drove 4 hours out of the city that day. Booked a room in a dated roadside motel. Keycard entry, no smart devices, analog TV. I left my phone in the glove box and turned off Wi-Fi on my laptop. It felt safer, heavier in a way, like disconnecting took weight off me, but also made me realize how much I'd relied on the tech she'd used to crawl inside my life. But that night, I woke up gasping. I didn't have a nightmare. I heard something, a voice not in the room, not outside, inside my head, and it said, as calmly as ever, "You left early this time." I didn't sleep. I checked the room. Nothing. But in the mirror above the sink, I noticed something. There was a small smudge in the top corner, perfectly circular. Like someone had pressed their thumb there. I wiped it off under it, etched faintly into the glass. "You looked better when you didn't know." I left the motel at dawn, started driving with no real direction, stopping only for gas and caffeine. I kept thinking if I could stay ahead of her, Yavid, I'd find somewhere she couldn't reach, but every time I checked into a new place and she was already there. Not physically, digitally, emotionally, like she'd downloaded me before I left and left herself in return. At one Airbnb, I opened a drawer and found a notebook with only one page written in it. My handwriting. A note to myself. "Don't trust her. You said that last time too." It didn't matter. At a diner in some nameless town, I paid in cash and left no ID. When I got back in the car, my radio flickered on. Not music. Not talk radio, just static. Then her voice. "You taste better when you're afraid." And that's when I realized this wasn't just obsession. It wasn't love. It wasn't even stalking. It was invasion. Lex hadn't just been watching me. She'd installed herself in me. Think about it. The way she finished my sentences. The way she knew what I craved before I did. The way she said, "You always ask that." Like I was on a loop. Like we'd done this before. Over and over. I started going through old emails, old messages. Stuff I hadn't looked at since we met, and I found her. Before we met on Bumble, I found a message in a years-old spam folder from someone named Alex with 2X. The email read, "I think you're ready now. I'll be gentle this time. Let's try again." Attached was a photo of me sleeping in my old apartment from 4 years ago. I don't remember that apartment. I don't even remember living in that city, but there I was. Mouth open, eyes closed, peaceful, and in the corner, a familiar outline, her silhouette, Lex. So now I know the truth. Didn't meet her. I rebooted into her. She's been running a program on me, some kind of loop, learning me, resetting me, until she finds the version she wants to keep. The last place I stayed had a landline, one of those beige plastic phones that barely ring anymore. It rang at 3 a.m. Sharp. I answered before the second ring. Nothing. Then a breath. And finally, her voice. "You're remembering faster now. I think this version might be the one." We'd been dating 8 months when the envelope came. Thick, official looking. No stamp. Just placed under the front door sometime between breakfast and lunch. Inside was a single folded sheet of paper. Certificate of Marriage, County of Los Angeles. Spouse A. My full legal name. Spouse B. Clara Wren. Date of marriage. August 4th. Location. Downtown Civil Courthouse Clerk. Signature verified witness signature Aux blank. Read it 5 times because my name was there and so was hers. But we weren't married, I would have remembered, right? I walked into the kitchen. Clara was at the stove humming, flipping something in a pan. "Hey," I said. She turned. "Yeah? This came for us." I handed her the certificate. She scanned it, smile not changing. "Oh," she said. "Guess it finally showed up." "What do you mean, finally?" "They said the paperwork might take a while." "Clara, we didn't get married." She smiled like I'd just forgotten to take the trash out. "Babe, you were there." "I wore the blue dress." "What blue dress?" "The one you said made me look illegally hot." She winked. Turned back to the stove. I checked my calendar. August 4th. Lunch with Clara, 1 p.m. Yamashiro. No courthouse. No wedding, no photos, no memory. I checked my texts. Nothing about rings, vows, marriage, except a deleted message from her, undeleted through the cloud. "You said yes." "You always do." I didn't sleep well that night, not because I thought she'd lie to me, but because of how casual she was about it. Like she'd expected me to forget. Like she'd planned for it. And the next morning, it got worse. My driver's license said I was married. My health insurance listed her as my spouse. I called my HR department. Asked them to check my profile. The rep paused, confused. "It says you filed a marital status update last month. With legal documentation. That's not possible." "Well, you also added your wife to your emergency contact list. You sure you're okay?" I searched my entire apartment for a ring. Nothing. But I did find something else. In the drawer beside my bed, one I never use, and was a folded thank you card, handwritten. "Thank you for saying yes, even if you don't remember this version. I'll take better care of it. Love, your wife," again. I confronted her. "What's going on? You really don't remember?" "No, and this isn't funny." She nodded, face calm. "Okay." Then reached into the cabinet, pulled out a mug, poured me coffee like it was just another Thursday. I tried to backtrack. "Call the courthouse?" They said yes, I was married. They had paperwork, a video, a blurry feed showing a man and a woman standing at a desk. "Is that me?" I asked. The clerk paused. "Looks like you." But the video had no sound. No way to verify the voices. The man never looked directly at the camera. I went to the courthouse in person. Demanded to see the original witness log. There wasn't one. The witness declined to sign, they said. That's allowed? Technically, yes. Back at home, I noticed small changes in Clara. She started wearing a ring. Thin, simple silver. Started referring to things like our car, our savings, our future. But I couldn't remember ever having those conversations. Every time I pushed, she pulled back just enough. "We already talked about this. Don't you remember Vegas? You said that in the other version too, that phrase. Again, other version. It made my blood go cold. One night I heard her whispering while I pretended to sleep. Not on the phone to me. He still glitches. Sometimes. This one's slower. I'll give it another week. He'll settle." I started recording her. At night, during the day, anytime she was in a room alone. In one video, she stood in front of the mirror and whispered, "Render clean. Merge stable, repeat." Another clip, 2:13 a.m. She stared at my sleeping body and whispered, "You said yes before the reset. You'll say it again." I packed a bag the next day, tried to leave quietly. She was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at nothing. As I passed, she said without looking up, "If you leave now, this version dies." I stopped. "What does that mean?" She smiled gently. "You're a copy. You know that, right? I'm not. You weren't supposed to wake up this much. But that's okay. I can still use you." I ran, stayed in a hotel, switched phones, wiped accounts. But every few days I get new mail, sometimes a photo, sometimes a letter. Always from a name I don't recognize, but inside, her handwriting. "I'm ready to try again. Let me know when this version resets. Love, Clara." And last night I woke up to a knock on my door. No one was there. But taped to the peephole was a marriage certificate. Same date, same names. Only this time my signature looked fresh. I burned the certificate, ripped it into 100 pieces first, watched it curl and blacken in a hotel sink. The next morning there was another one, fresh, crisp, folded neatly and slid under the door. This one had my new address. My new phone number handwritten on the bottom, and a sticky note attached. "No matter how many times you run, we end up here. Just say yes." I tried to move again. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. Left my car at the old place, bought a bus ticket under a fake name, paid cash for a rental 3 towns over. New room. No tech, no internet. I sat on the floor for hours that first night staring at the blank wall, trying to breathe, trying to convince myself this was finally real, that I'd finally outrun her. But then I noticed the bathroom mirror had a faint smudge in the corner, a handprint, too small to be mine, too wide to be accidental, written below it in fog. Wife access synced. I screamed. Broke the mirror. Broke the door. Checked out by 6 a.m. Next stop was the cabin. An old one I remembered my uncle used to take me to as a kid. No cell service. No utilities. The kind of place people go when they want to disappear. That's where I tried the ritual. I know. It sounds stupid. But desperate people do stupid things. I found an old forum thread buried 50 clicks deep on a conspiracy board. Title: Unbinding. How to Break an Unwanted Loop Marriage. It sounded exactly like what I was in. It listed 3 steps. Burn every object she gave you. Write your name backward 100 times while facing a mirror. Sleep alone in complete darkness for 1 night. No phones, no light, no sound. I did all of it. Burned the mug she loved, the sweater she gifted me, the note she wrote. Stared in the mirror until my name looked like a curse. Then I turned off every light, curled up in the dark, and waited for morning. I woke up at 3:03 a.m. to her voice right behind my ear. "We've done that one already, babe," I screamed, fumbled for a light. Nothing was there. But on the table, someone had left a notebook I didn't bring. Inside were sketches, dozens of them, all of me. Different outfits, different hair, different facial expressions, and in the bottom corner of each page, a rating. Version 4.2, too paranoid. Version 5.0, forgot too fast. Version 5.7, kind eyes. Kept resisting version 6.0, compliant. Good husband. I turned to the last page, blank sketch frame. A note underneath, 3, current. Resetting soon. That's when I realized I don't even remember what version I am. How many times has she rebooted me? How many of me are still out there? Back in town, I checked the marriage license database online. Her name, Clara Wren, came up 14 times. All with different versions of me, different birthdays. Different addresses. Same face every time, every record tagged as active, meaning all of us are still married, simultaneously. I thought about finding the others, finding me. But how do you track versions of yourself that don't even know they exist? I tried leaving a message in my phone's notes app. Something short, something they might find. If you're reading this, she's still in you. Don't believe her. Break every mirror. I woke up the next day. The note was gone. Replaced with, "That was rude. Say sorry." And now? Now she's not just contacting me. I got a call from my mother this morning. She asked how Clara was. Said she loved the wedding photos. We never took any. She sent me one. We were smiling, holding hands. She was in that blue dress she always mentioned, and me, I was crying, smiling, but crying, and in the background where the sky should have been was nothing but static, like a broken signal. Every day I forget something, an address, a birthday, a face. Every day I feel less anchored to who I used to be, and every night, she whispers things I think I've heard before. Sometimes she says, "This was the best version so far." Other nights, "You almost made it out last time." And once, "You were the original. I'm sorry." I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know if I ever was, but today I got something new in the mail. No envelope, no return address, just a single-page certificate of divorce filed, stamped her name. My name signed, witnessed, dated for tomorrow. The divorce was dated for tomorrow, but I didn't file it, I didn't sign it. I stared at the document for a long time, wondering if it was a trick, a test. Another layer of whatever Clara's been doing to me. Or maybe it was worse, and maybe it wasn't a trap, but an upgrade. I tried calling the courthouse listed on the form. The number didn't work. Not disconnected, just not real. The voicemail was a slow looping hum. No words, no tone, just a sound that made my teeth hurt. I searched the clerk's name online. 0 results. The next day, I woke up, and something was gone. I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize my eyes, not like, wow, I look tired. I mean, literally. The color was off, not hazel. Not brown. Just wrong. Like a texture mapped onto a face. Like someone rendered me from memory. My left canine was chipped. I never chipped it. My right hand had a freckle I didn't recognize. Then I opened my phone. I had 14 new photos in my gallery, all wedding portraits, all with Clara, each one a different version of me. Same smiles, same suit. Different eyes. I tried deleting them. They came back the next day, but this time they moved. Just a little. The eyes shifted. The smiles twitched. In one, Clara's lips moved. I turned the volume up and played it. Her whisper came through. No more resets. This is the merge. I called an old friend, the one person I hadn't pushed away during all this. His name's James. Grounded, logical. A skeptic, I begged him to meet. Told him I needed to see someone who still knew me. We met at a diner off the freeway. The second he saw me, he flinched. Dude, what happened to your face? I froze. What do you mean? It's like off. I can't explain it. Like you're wearing your own skin too tight. I laughed it off, tried to talk normal. But halfway through our coffee, he stared at me and said, "This isn't funny anymore." What? You did this same bit a year ago. What are you talking about? At this exact diner. Same booth. You called me. Told me you didn't remember marrying someone. Said her name was Clara. Said she was rewriting you. I went pale. I've never been here before. He stared at me, then slid his phone across the table. A contact. Alex, older. This is you. I've had this number saved for a year. I don't know how many versions of me she's made, but I know now she's merging them, taking the parts she likes from each, compiling them, layering them until I'm the perfect husband. And when she's done, there won't be any version left but hers. That night I tried the oldest trick in the book. I looked for an exorcist, not a priest, not a medium. I found a woman named Maribel, who worked with people who claimed their identities were being overwritten by others. She called it synthetic soul. Replacement. Sounded like sci-fi, felt like my life. She agreed to meet. She came to my motel, said almost nothing, just looked at me, took my pulse, then closed her eyes and whispered a string of sounds I didn't recognize. Then she looked up and said, "She's not in your head anymore." What? She's through. That means the merge has started. What does that mean? It means you're not supposed to exist right now. Can you stop it? She shook her head. Not stop, only interrupt. How? You have to forget her before she finishes remembering you. She handed me a mirror, told me to look into it and say my full name. I did. Nothing happened. She said again, slower. This time when I said it, my reflection didn't move, just stared back, smiling slightly. Then it whispered, "Too late." I blacked out. When I came to, I was back in my apartment, but it was fully furnished, more than I remembered. Photos of me and Clara on every wall, matching pajamas on the bed, his and hers toothbrushes. On the nightstand was a new certificate. This one didn't say marriage, it said merging complete. Signed, Clara Wren, co-signed. Alex, V7.4. I turned to the mirror, and for the first time, it wasn't just my reflection, it was all of them. Versions of me, layered, some sad, some smiling, some screaming behind the glass, and Clara behind them all, resting her chin on my shoulder. I don't know how to fight this. I don't know if I still can. But if you're reading this, if somehow one of you is still out there, hear me. If she says, you always say yes and don't. If she calls you husband before you propose, run if you wake up with eyes that aren't yours. You're already too late.